We're back here on Good Morning Lake Martin. It is top of the hour. Welcome to all the folks around the state of Alabama with the Alabama Cable Network joining us now statewide for the second hour of Good Morning Lake Martin. Doug Roberts is in the house as always, drinking a hot cup of coffee over there. Also, we begin our political series of interviews throughout this political season. And today we welcome to the set for the very first time Mr. Larry DiChiara. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great
this morning,
Thank
sir.
you.
Doug
Thank
Roberts. We had a great chance to visit and talk just the other day, but I want our viewers to get to know you a little bit better, the ones that don't already. Most of them probably already do. Tell us a little bit about Larry DiChiara and where you're from and your family, and then we'll get into the politics side.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you having me. I started out, grew up in Gulf Shores, Alabama, went to Foley High School, came to school at Auburn, made the decision that I wanted to be a special education teacher, and so wanted to stay near Auburn so I could work on my master's degree and so forth. And so I started teaching and coaching out at Lochapoka High School, right up the road from Auburn. Taught high school special education for 10 years. During that period, they had an opening as the basketball coach, and I kind of got it by default because I played it in high school. Right. You know, it kind of reminds me of that MASH episode where Trapper and Hawkeye are walking along because their Jeep, broke down, and they run across a mule, and they look at each other and said, "Do either one of you know how to ride a mule?" And Trapper said, "Well, I stepped in some manure one time," and Hawkeye said, "You're in charge then." Well,
I love it.
Yeah, that's how I got the basketball job. But and we were fortunate that we won the state championship that very first year.
I think you did know something about it.
And then we won the second year, and then we were runner-up the third year. And I tell everybody though, those kids made me look like a coaching genius because they're such great kids and they were great athletes. And you never win the Kentucky Derby with mules. You got to have thoroughbreds.
You got the thoroughbreds.
And I had thoroughbreds. But anyway, after I did that, I became the principal of the elementary school. Did that for a few years, moved into the central office and became the special education coordinator for the district of Lee County. Did that along with lots of other duties that was assigned to me. And about 12, 13 years later, became the superintendent of schools in Phoenix City. Did that for 9.5 years. During the 2012 school year, I was named the Alabama Superintendent of the Year. Great honor. I was very humbled by it. Thank you.
Very nice.
A lot more deserving people than I was, I can tell you. They had done it a lot longer, but I accepted it and I was humbled by it. And then after that, I retired, and Dr. Bice asked me to go to Selma City Schools to put a team together and take that district over. It was having lots of problems. So I put a team together, went there, stayed about 1.5 years, and we think we left it in pretty good shape. And hopefully they can be successful at this point. But it was not easy, when we first got there. I mean, it was a challenge. But there were some things going on that just I was ashamed of as an educator, and we worked really hard to try to turn it around. And at that point, I was waiting on that next assignment to go take over another school district. I was teaching some at the college level. And I had some people come to me and say, "We'd really like for you to consider running against Mike Rogers." A lot of people have not been pleased with what's happening in Washington. They think that I can bring a different kind of leadership to it. If you think about it, we can't think of a single retired educator, retired administrator, school administrator, that's ever run for a federal office in Alabama. There may be, we just don't know who it is yet. And if you think about why that might be, after 30 years, we usually retire because we're worn out. And then we say, let's just go drink a margarita on the beach for the rest of our life, or we go teach at the college level. We're tired, But if you think about all the qualifications that a retired school administrator has, because they've spent years and years and years taking coursework to become a good leader, to learn how to collaborate with people, how to work with diverse groups, how to hire, fire, understand state law, teach and instruct, convince people to change, and so forth. And then we get all this practical experience of actually running a school and running a school district and leading people and managing budgets. And then in order to keep our certification, we have to keep taking coursework and keep getting training. And then we get to retirement age, and all that experience, those credentials, all that knowledge just kind of goes to the wayside. And what I say is more of them should run, more of them should get out there, because they've established themselves as leaders.
They've had excellent training.
And what I think is happening in Washington and in Montgomery is a lack of leadership. There's a lack of statesmanship. There's a lack of integrity. And so I think people respect educators. I mean, because most of us went into the profession for the right reasons.
Sure.
I mean, I was Mr. Everything in high school. I was the SGA president. Everybody said, oh, he's going to be a lawyer or a doctor. And I chose to work with students with disabilities. And that shows that I was not in it to go make a bunch of money. I was in it to try to make a difference with kids. And we just need more people like that. I would have more faith in people like that if they go to Washington or go to Montgomery to try to make decisions for our lives.
Certainly.
So I made the decision to go ahead and do it. Some people say it was a foolish decision because, you know, you're competing against an incumbent that's been there for 14 years.
Right.
Has $1.something million in their war chest, and has a personal worth of over $3 million, something like that. And I'm on a retired educator salary with 2 kids in college. And in order to compete, a lot of times you need the money just to get the name recognition.
Right.
And this district is 13 counties, and so I've got to figure out a way, besides in the southern counties, because a lot of people around here know who I am.
Sure.
I did the radio for the Auburn Lady Tiger basketball team for several years with Andy Bertram as the color commentator. So people knew me from that.
Sure.
The Selma high-profile situation, you know, the superintendent of the year, the state championship. So my name is pretty well known around here.
And winning basketball at Lochapoke? Hey.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, people know. But you know, in North Alabama, the Northern District, they don't know.
Right.
And so that's what takes a little bit of money to advertise and get your name out there. And so, but what people said that gives me a chance, besides the resume, is that there are 29 school districts in those 13 counties.
Sure.
And I'm good friends with all those superintendents. Matter of fact, you know, Dr. Cooper here in Ellick City, I actually was assigned to him to be his mentor for 2 years when he became the new superintendent here. And so I know them all real well. Good. And I'm hoping that the educators in those districts know that I'm an educator, and if given the choice to select the career politician or the career educator, I hope they decide to select me.
We're coming up on a break, and if we could keep you another segment, because I have some specific questions about certain things you'd like to see either changed or maintained in Congress in the event that you were elected. If we could touch on some of those individual subjects, can we do that?
Be glad to. Glad to.
Why don't we take our first break of this hour, and we'll come back in just a few moments. This is Good Morning Lake Martin.